everyone, and welcome to tonight's coverage here on RaceSpotTV of the Espeed Contender Series. From beautiful Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, it's time for the Maple Leaf 125 here for round number 21 of this season. I'm Justin Prince alongside Miss Davis Richard. Who for this night's friendly Jennings will quickly look through your starting grid for tonight's coverage. As Doug Lemons, last week's race winner, will start off on the pole alongside Sean Powell. Matt Kingsbury, James Torrey will be row number 2, followed by in row 3, Brent Keith and Brad Neer. Behind that is Doc Stout and Keith Stewart with Brandon Holder and Mike Bruno in the top 10. Gregory Thompson and Tim Marlowe in the 11 and 12, followed by Ryan Lange and Sean M. Ryan. Tyler Hayes is in the middle of the field, followed by Perry Snelson, Damian Plosminger, Timmy Logwood Jr., 17th and 18th. And rounding out the top 20, Bobby Everhart and Scotty Reinshield. Paul Bliss and Marshall Barrier in 21st and 22nd. Malik Ray, who was originally scheduled for 23rd on the grid, got an EOL. He'll start the back. James Hickson will start 24th. Moving up one spot in one row, I should say, is John Verga, followed by Brad Patterson and Kerry Allen Stewart. Rounds out this 27 trucks here in the row for Matt Kingsbury, who won at Sonoma early on this season in dramatic fashion. Sean Powell is in the 3rd spot, followed by James Torrey. Brad Neer in the 5th spot, followed by Brent Keith to round out the top 6. They work their way through White's Corner and round out lap number 1. Tonight's coverage is 49 laps for what should be a thrilling race here on RaceSpotTV. And of course, this is a track known for its dramatics. We'll see who is able to come on top of this one, but look at the start from Doug Lemons, already up to about what is a 1.3 second gap in the first lap of the quarter.
Doug Lemons is absolutely on the throttle right now. He's taking that momentum from last week's win at Chicago, and he's absolutely running with it here at Canadian Motorsports Park. Now that this race is settling in, as we're on lap 2, are the other drivers going to be able to catch him? This is a very high-speed racetrack, and these drivers are going to have a lot of work cut out in front of them.
Perry Snelson's off the racetrack. Snelson near the back of the field, who was in P19 before coming off, ends up losing control and after sliding through the grass in what appears to be coming into Moss Corner. Replay is up on your screen, presented by Amsor, the first in synthetics. Multiple drivers went through the grass there too, but Snelson got the worst out of all of it in this challenging course, Davis.
He did. Unfortunate break there for Perry Snelson. He's going to have to try to get that thing back under control and get it back on track here tonight. At this track, you're going to see more and more drivers going off track and making those mistakes. And whoever comes out of here the winner tonight, they're just going to have to run a 100% consistent race and just be able to hit their lines lap after lap after lap.
For those wondering who the other 2 drivers that came off, it was Malik Ray and Bobby Everhart, who both went off the course going through turn number 4, approaching Moss Corner. But so far, the main consistent driver so far on the tracks has been Doug Lemons. Only driver, other than Sean Powell, pardon me, to be in the 126s. The rest of the field, 120.7s on back so far in this action, as everyone really up in that top 5 splitting up. Meanwhile, though, Mike Bruno starting to cut his way up through the field, passes by Doc Stout for an air pass, and now he's having to watch as Brandon Holder goes wide going through Moss Corner, side by side with Brent Keith. So Keith, forced towards the bottom, is just going to let Bruno and Holder by in one of the passing zones here as they go down the Mario Lynch ready straight away.
Sometimes it's better just to pull aside and let him go than be caught in the middle and be caught within the backfire here. So we're going to see if Keith Stewart can get that momentum back and if he can track these drivers down as this race goes on.
Meanwhile, it looks like Timmy Logwood Jr. might have had some problems. He is now in pit lane after already a couple laps. He was before coming in towards the lower part of the grid. Now he's still in the pit lane. So an interesting decision there to come in the early going, so we'll have to find out what's happened to him. But for the time being, everyone's settled on in. Basically, the first few drivers have pulled away from the rest of the pack. So far, it's the top 5 split away from the next group to be in the top 10. And then you have 11th all the way to 18th group together. It looks like one of those spots might have just had some more trouble, and it's Paul Bliss.
Paul Bliss having trouble with that machine right there. He tries to get her back under control and get back his momentum on this fast road course track here. Like I said before, we're going to see that all night long. These drivers are going to keep having problems. They're going to have to keep running their lines and keep up with the momentum and find out where the passing zones are and find out when the perfect timing is to make those passes.
For those wondering what happened there with Paul Bliss, coming into turn number 1, he went off the racetrack and smacked hard into the wall. He has gone back going, but he's lost a lot of track time. But so far, it's been Doug Lemons that's been the most consistent. Fastest lap recorded last time by a 1:20.5, and at times had been up near the front on this race at Sonoma, pardon me. Just did not get the right strategy as he had short pit and just did not get the track position to be battling up at the front. This is the strongest run from him at a road course we've seen so far this season. But a lot of the drivers, some of these drivers not used to driving on road courses some of their times. Sean Powell, for example, had spent hours upon hours just for Sonoma, having to very likely do the same case as he'll make the pass on Kingsbury. He goes into the grass.
And it looks like a lot of these drivers as well, as they just didn't even show up here tonight. I'm looking at the back of the pack. Malik Ray, 86 laps down. It might have been one of the start and park drivers. So some of these drivers choosing not to even race out here. This road course takes a very special set of skills, and some of these drivers just don't have it. They're more oval regulated. But we see right here with Doug Lemons still in the lead in that 70 machine. He knows how to get around an oval, and he knows how to get around a road course.
He absolutely does right now. Again, he's been setting the pace. He's already up to an almost 3-second lead here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on lap number 5 of 49. Now the question is, when do you come in? What is the best strategy to come on in? As you're looking at some details with your AMSOIL First and Synthetics instant replay with Kingsbury, this was through Quebec corner that allowed Power to move up to second.
It is taking a look at that replay right here, trying to see what's going on.
And as you can see there, in the end now Kingsbury, who won at Sonoma, has dropped back to P number 5. He is working with his brother Ray Kingsbury, who is up on the spotter stand for tonight's action. Something's going on with Sean Powell, meanwhile, in second spot. Lost a lot of time going down the hill compared to James Torrey. He moves up towards the high line as they go and try and go side by side coming to the exit of Quebec corner. Torrey has to back out, trying to get into the better passing opportunity towards the higher line as they head hard into Moss. That leaves Torrey, who gets bumped from behind, still able to keep a spot. Bumper cars remains as Brad Neer able to keep the spot, but got bumped from behind a little bit. No damage on his truck.
Brad Neer holding on with everything he's got right now, trying to get that machine under control as he comes through the corners. It's going to be tough, but that was an awesome move by Brad Neer, that number 9 machine.
Yeah, nice move there to be able to trying to get a nice move together, but of course, this is a track, of course, known for its energy, its excitement, its potential drama in an award, essentially. Where do you see a lot of these drivers trying to go for the passes the most today? Whether it's Moss Corner or through the Whites Corner, which has become very dramatic in the past few years, etc.
You're definitely going to see it in the Whites Corner here. That's when you're just going to see the majority of the passes here tonight. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the broadcast too when they hit that corner, because these drivers are going to be setting up those passes. They know where the passing lines are, so they'll be setting the corners up, setting the whole entire racetrack just for those 2 corners to try and make their move.
And for those that are just tuning in, Malik Ray is no longer on the racetrack either. DNF for this one will finish 27th. 27 drivers took the grid. 2 drivers are already a lap down. Timmy Logwood Jr. and John Virgo, who are near the back of the pack for the starting grid and ended up coming in the first couple laps into the pits. But it's basically as well, how does it come with consistency? Pardon me for a second. Marshall Berry just went off the racetrack in 14th. He'll drop all the way back to 16th after taking a huge slide through Moss, pardon me. And a lot of these drivers now, what is the best setup, I should really say, to try and make sure you can get around this track cleanly without getting into trouble? And hold on again, more trouble as Brandon Holder, the teammate for Berry, just got punted out of the way from 6th. That moves Kingsbury up a couple spots along with Mike Bruno.
It does. They're still fighting side by side for that position.
No longer side by side for the position, but Kingsbury at least moves up into the top 5, but I think Brandon Holder's not going to like that. It is a bit of a thinner racetrack, though, Davis, where there's not a lot of room to work at for some parts of the racetrack compared to other road courses.
You're absolutely right, Justin, on that one, so that's going to be key to pay attention to as this night goes further.
And here's the Amsoil instant replay you see with Marshall Berry with his troubles. As all kinds of dramatics around the racetrack as we've seen all around. Tyler Hayes into the grass, meanwhile, has more trouble going through this time to the Clayton corner. Brad Patterson's in trouble. Paul Bliss in trouble. Perry Snelson upside down. And more drivers are stopped in the middle of the corner as Tyler Hayes is pointing to the race of the track. You're looking at Snelson with his flip upside down. A very dramatic corner where Logwood Jr. and Virgo, both just in real action, also went off the grass. Clayton corners, a very difficult corner. You're seeing why again.
You are. Clayton corner, very tough right there. Heavy contact for those drivers. Tough break for them as you see them go around end over end in that machine.
Yeah, tough breaks all across the racetrack right now for a lot of drivers at this challenging course to try and get some consistency. With all of this, meanwhile, though, the top 2 have started to pull away. Doug Lemons and Sean Powell, who are starting to really keep up consistent times. They're the 2 fastest trucks on the racetrack. Everyone on back is in the 1:21.6s on back. They basically set the tempo up at the front to have the clean air, to have the space.
They are, and they're setting the tempo indeed as you're watching it right now. Those drivers are able to keep the momentum up, keep the drivers behind them, and keep running their own race. And that's what's going to be most important, is being able to be so consistent and just run your race lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, that is the main thing, consistency. Trying to keep consistent, trying to get yourself in the best position. But to go back to one of the questions I was trying to ask earlier before, well, Pandemonium through Clayton corner, what is the best pit strategy in your opinion? Do you try and make it a 1-stop? Do you go for a 2-stop? What's the best strategy, and around what time do you expect to see these drivers come in as we reach about lap 10?
Well, Justin, I'm not much big on the road course experience here in the road course pitting strategy. I'm more of an oval guy, like we've seen some of these drivers here. So maybe you could enlighten the crowd and be a better answer to that than I could give them.
Want to throw it into your court there, but basically at this track, it's 49 laps right now at this course. The total distance for the circuit is 2.46 miles. At Sonoma, it was for a lot of drivers where it was about 90 laps, a 2-stopper. With this distance, though, for this, what is a grand total of 125 miles, theory should be we expect a majority of the drivers maybe try and stretch it to 1, but we could see, I think, a lot more trying to maybe go for 2, prioritizing tires, so to speak, rather than fuel. So that is a possibility on this racetrack. That's for sure. But again, I think it depends on how your rhythm's going, how the pace is going, what part of the racetrack you are on, because you never know what's going to happen at Davis in this entire race.
You don't know what's going to happen. Remember, cautions are not on for this race, and this race is going to go flag to flag, green flag action here tonight. Just because, like we've seen with drivers flipping upside down, there's not going to be a caution thrown.
Exactly. If something happens to you, unless, say, the track becomes entirely blocked, which is very, very unlikely, we will not see a caution flag for tonight's race. It will be flag to flag, 49 laps of action. That is going to be, right now, helpful for a lot of drivers. Doug Lemons is up to a 4.8-second lead here on Race Spot, already approaching a quarter way through of the Maple Leaf 125 here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. You can see him starting to work his way now through traffic where this was kind of discussed in real life at Watkins Glen with the Monster Energy Cup Series. At one point, it was considered if you fell a lap down on a road course, your day was done. For a lot of these drivers, it's going to be absolutely challenging, I think, to try and find any way to get back on the lead lap in this kind of a circuit.
And it's going to be very challenging for anyone to pass that number 7 machine of Doug Lemons. He's got that machine absolutely on cruise control here tonight. He's going to have something drastic. Right now with that 4.8 second lead, he can basically just say, hey, I'm going to run my race here. I can slow down if I need to. I can take my time getting across this lap traffic and do what I need to do, because he has built up such a lead, especially here in these opening laps with no cautions on. Man, he's just going to have that thing on cruise control, and he's going to have to, but also he's going to have to do the right pit strategy too. We could see pit strategy come into play here tonight, Justin.
We definitely could. We're on lap number 12, but of course with the amount of distance Doug Lemons continues on, that doesn't, of course remember there's still a fast truck in Sean Powell where he's been able to match or top, in fact, Doug Lemons' time sometimes. He just hasn't had the consistency in the Gen X Racing Amsoil truck tonight.
Yeah, he hasn't, but he's going to have to show that consistency, because Doug Lemons is showing it. He's being consistent lap after lap. He might not have had the fastest times, but he's consistent. That's what you need, consistency at these road courses.
Yeah, the consistency is continuing to play keys, and Matt Kingsbury's been really struggling at times for some of the consistency. He fell to the 122.4s already twice, 3 times in fact, since lap 6. And now that number 21 machine is getting swamped from behind with Mike Bruno behind him. Brandon Holder now also closing.
He is. Brandon Holder is closing right now on that number 5 machine up to the 19 of Mike Bruno. He's going to have to keep running those consistent lap times with the 19 of Mike Bruno. He's going to have to deal with the 21 of Matt Kingsbury as Matt Kingsbury tries to duel them off as they come through the corner.
Able to duel him off this time by, but the question is, how long can Kingsbury hold on? Remember, there was a bit of the moment where he was at the back of where Brad Neer was. Now, Brad Neer's pulled away by 3 seconds. Some sections of the racetrack, Kingsbury is much stronger. For example, coming out of turn number 1 and working his way through the Clayton corner. But in intersections, especially coming into Moss, that's where he seems to lose all the time, Matt Kingsbury, compared to the drivers from behind on the circuit.
He is, and pay attention to that too, where these drivers make
hold
up
on one
the time.
second. It looks like Doug Lemons might have just had trouble because he's lost the lead. Doug Lemons has fallen victim to the Clayton corner as Sean Powell has taken the lead, and that evaporates a 5-second lead, Davis. Unbelievable.
Randy, get us a replay on that. We have to see what happened to that number 70 machine of Doug Lemons.
It's already up with the Amsoil instant replay. You see him going into the grass in Clayton corner and evaporating a 5-second lead. A lot of drivers, they can overrun it. Big mistake from Doug Lemons.
And now this absolutely opens up. Here comes the drama. The 70 has some right side damage on that machine. He gets given up a 5-second lead to the 41 of Sean Powell. He's about a second behind that 41 machine. Can Doug Lemons run him down?
That's the good question there. 1:22.01, the fastest for Sean Powell on the racetrack last time by. Of course, that is a 2/10 faster gap compared to the next driver, which was Brad Neer. Now Doug Lemons will have to refocus here on lap 14. Still a lot of time to go, but the question is, does that break up his focus? Does that break his rhythm as we continue to follow along with the battles across the racetrack?
And Justin, that is a great observation right there. And I'm watching that 70 of Doug Lemons as he's getting closer and closer to that 41 of Sean Powell. But it looks like he's overdriving the corners too as his back end started to get loose coming out of the corner. Can he catch the 41 of Sean Powell? This absolutely opens up the drama. I said Doug Lemons, he had the 4.8 second lead. All he had to do was be consistent. It got into his mind. It played tricks on him. And now he's going to have to battle back down the 41 and Sean Powell and get past him. And I tell you, it's a driver that absolutely does get in your head. That ruins your consistency. That ruins your momentum. It's going to take him at least 3 to 4 laps just to get back into his rhythm to try to run him down.
This time by lost a couple seconds and he's loose.
Hit the wall.
He just hit the wall down the front straightaway, and now Doug Lemons' day has just gone from a bit rough to very bad. Lots of damage on the right side of his truck. Possible maybe suspension damage from how hard he hit that truck in multiple spots, as we'll see it on board.
On board the number 70 of Doug Lemons as he comes out of the corner up near the start and finish line. Looks like he just gets that back end loose. Just looks like it's a factor of having a lot of oversteer and brake bias in that machine, and just gets loose and hits that outside wall, and he has absolutely thrown this race away, Justin.
Just absolutely unbelievable. It's Doug Lemons, last week's race winner at Chicagoland, had been leading by a fair distance, has lost a lot of time.
And the number 2 machine is off the track as well. That's James Torrey as he gives up the 3rd position to Brad Neer. So 2nd position.
Took it way too strong going into Moss, which we have seen a lot of closer encounters in Moss, but now Sean Powell, with all of this going on, is up to a 2.7 second lead and probably thinking, are you kidding me? As he works his way through the S's and towards White's corner to try and move himself to lap number 16.
With all this drama and all these cars going off track, you got to think these tires are getting up to their breaking point. When are we going to see the first driver go down pit road and get those 4 fresh tires? They are absolutely on the edge tonight here at Canadian Motorsports Park. But can the number 2 of James Torrey, the 9 of Brad Neer, and the 70 of Doug Lemons, can they run down the 41 of Sean Powell? The 41 of Sean Powell has to do what we said the 70 of Doug Lemons had to do, just run a consistent race, and he might have this in the bag, but nothing is over with just a 3.1 second lead, and as with much drama as we've seen already in 16 laps, it is anyone's race tonight.
You gotta love Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for its potential drama, as Sean Powell now leads. Brad Neer holding on to 2nd with James Torrey and Doug Lemons in keys 3 and 4. And following up in the top 5 right now, Brandon Hodder, who is right now in a bit of a swamp on his own. Question is, how long can Powell keep this gap? Before all of the dramatics, it was a gap between him and Neer. Had trouble. Meanwhile, trouble for Brandon Hodder going through Moss. Almost lost it as he went sideways and fishtailed, but still able to hold on to the spot as he works his way through the Mario Andretti straight away.
But now he's got the 19 of Mike T. Bruno right on his rear end. He's going to try to set him up for a pass here as they come down the straightaway and into the corner. Can he make it? No, he's not going to set his pass up. He's going to have to take a couple more laps to get that machine under control, make his momentum. Here he goes on the inside of the 5 of Brandon Hodder, and he slows down wisely before that corner. But before long, he's going to have the 62, a Doc Stout, banging on his rear end.
Not able to close up quite yet is Bruno, as Hodder still holding on to the spot. This is for P number 5, reminder, for the top 5. Mike Bruno in the Amsoil truck takes the corner too strong as he'll lose some time, allowing Doc Stout to reclose up. Question is, can Hodder keep it on the track through Clayton? Yes, he will. So many drivers have gone through the grass today as this group continues to get very close and get very nerve-wracking, but it looks like Hodder, thanks to mistakes from Mike Bruno, has been able to get at least to a 7 truck length gap.
And here comes the 62, a Doc Stout. He goes to the inside of the 19 of Mike T. Bruno. Mike T. Bruno lets him by wisely, and that's a very smart move on his part. He knew he was faster, but these drivers just got to be consistent. Consistency is going to be the key here tonight.
And a lot of people not hitting their consistent marks at times. Doc Stout up to P6 with that pass. And Doug Lemons, he still hasn't regathered his rhythm. He's fallen back to about the 122s, 124s to 122s. It's at one point the 123s in terms of his pace since going off the track at Clayton Corner. And that damage has definitely got to be affecting that racetrack. It's getting very loose on some of these exits now.
It is. I'm watching him on the exit, and that rear end is just stepping out on him lap after lap. He's going to have to go down pit road. He's not going to have time to get that damage fixed. He's just going to have to live with that damage for the rest of the race, unless by some rare circumstance we do get a full course caution. But even by then, he's not going to give up that track position, go the back of the pack, and get that damage fixed. So he's basically going to have to live with that damage for the rest of the race. Now, how much has that damage affected him? We know it's affected his momentum. We know it's affected him throughout the race. But will the damage come into play here? Did he lose engine power? Is the suspension having trouble? It already looks like his truck is loose. There's a ton of factors that be going on with that 70 machine of Doug Lemons.
And we've seen the same thing happen with Kingsbury up at Sonoma, where he ended up having contact with lap traffic. This got some suspension damage. Then it affected him. We got trouble again in Moss. And again, it's Brandon Hodder. And this time it costs him. He drops out of the top 5 as both Doc Stout and Mike Bruno are able to make the pass.
Tough break for Brandon Hodder coming out of Moss right there. is he's going to lose multiple positions, like he said, to the 62 of Doc Stout and the Mike T. Bruno. Very, very tough for that 5 machine here tonight.
Yeah, that time went even more stronger than the last time, going off into the dirt, going through Moss, and it ends up costing him a top 5 spot for the time being. Here on RaceSpotTV, you're watching the Espeed Contender Series for the Maple Leaf 125. If you're just tuning in, we're on lap 19, slowly approaching towards that halfway point here in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. The land where Canadians live, of course, and obvious sakes. But right now, that's more trouble again. John Verga just went off in Clayton Corner. All the drivers will move on by as he'll fall an arrow lap down here on the circuit, as everyone's still trying to keep up the pace, trying to keep up the rhythm, but a lot of drivers...
And the 41 of Sean Powell went off the track right there, coming out of the corner.
And that's again in Moss Corner that my partner Davis Richards is referring to. Went a bit wide, lost him a bit of time. Now the gap between him and Near is just less than a second and a half.
Lost a second and a half there to the second place machine of the 9 of Brad Near. Now, how's he going to get his consistency? Is he going to be able to build up back of this momentum that's going to affect him? But that 9 of Brad Near is coming, and he's coming in a hurry for that 41 machine.
And he's definitely picking up the pace. So let's look at the time this time. He was starting to close in little by little before he went off a bit through Moss. This time by lap time total for Brad Near, fastest on the racetrack, a 122.6. 4/10 gain because of that mistake for Sean Powell in the Gen X truck, as James Torrey has gone into the pits.
James Torrey, the first driver we're seeing going down pit road. Now the fuel window is open right now. Who's going to go in? Who's going to decide to stay out? Who's going to play pit strategy? This is all heating up here tonight at Canadian Motorsports Park.
And that means with lap 20, thought process might be he maybe comes in on lap 40, do you think? Or does he maybe try, if he has the fuel, stretch it to the finish from there and risk the tires?
And the 81 machine of lap traffic gets out of the way of the leaders, or maybe he lost traction. That could hold problems. That did hold problems for the number 9 of Brad Nears. That slowed him down.
Pardon me there for almost cutting you off. I just noticed that myself, because that cost near the just about some of the time that was gained back on Sean Powell, trying to make sure he didn't climb up the side of the lap truck in Damian Plotzmanger. That's got to be something you got to think about too here, Davis, to manage the traffic in a way that keeps you out of trouble there. That time, trouble almost said hello.
Trouble did almost say hello. And now we're just going to watch the battle here with the 9 of Brad Near and the 41 of Sean Powell. We know the 9 of Brad Near, he has the speed. He's been able to keep those lap times consistent with the 41 and Sean Powell with even faster. And that 41 and Sean Powell's got a lot of traffic to deal with. So when do they go down pit road? I think the 9 of Brad Near, he's consistent enough. He's able to make it up on speed. I don't think he needs to play any strategy. Once we see that 41 go down pit road, I think we'll see the 9 of Brad Near follow him as well. And Timmy Logwood Jr. just blew up as he was trying to shift it into gear, and his day is done.
And that, another DNF on the racetrack. A lot of drivers falling laps down. Remember, he pit on lap 4, so the other drivers are 4 in the pits. Scotty Reinshield in live action, meanwhile, just went off through Clayton Corner. So more drivers can really make mistakes. This time, Reinshield will fall back to 10th as he goes wide.
Drivers having problems after problems. Can anyone run a consistent race? We've seen every single driver have problems here tonight.
And speaking of trouble, in Moss Corner, guess who went off? Doc Stout and Brandon Holder. That loses Brandon Holder's spot back to Mike Bruno since he gained that back. Doc Stout's able to keep the time gain, so everyone is going off the racetrack here. And remember, this is a cold track. Logic would say you have more grip, but these drivers, they're just driving it way off the circuit as they're riding the grip and trying to take advantage of speed, it looks like. And it looks like pit stops, meanwhile, starting with Doc Stout and Brandon Holder pulling into the pits alongside with Marshall Berry.
It is, and the pit window is open. We seen it open earlier here tonight. Now it's
hold on 1 second. Right trouble, now. Matt Kingsbury coming out of White's corner. He just smacked the wall hard after getting loose and getting a P9, and his truck is absolutely total on the front end, smacking up the wall and really damaging that 21 machine.
Tough break for the 21 of Matt Kingsbury. We've seen him racing hard with the leaders earlier tonight, and his night is pretty much done. He's just gonna have to try to limp that thing home.
The amount of AMSOIL instant replays is going to be on a record holder. Meanwhile, Doug Lemons in live action also went off the racetrack, this time through Quebec corner. That cost him the top 5 as his day continues to go from bad to worse. Now he's all the way back in the grouping of Brent Keefe as well as Keith Stewart after going off the racetrack.
He is. Tough break for that driver too, as we got Quebec corner and Clayton's corner, Moss corner. Am I missing any corners there, Justin?
There's the S's, the Mario Andretti straightaway. A lot of history across this racetrack, and a big-time pileup. Gregory Thompson in trouble. Brandon Holder also in trouble. This is a big-time incident where they're having to come across the track. Brandon Holder's moving as this is going to be coming out of Quebec corner. Holder, as you'll see on the AMSOIL instant replay, really damaged up his truck.
He did, as you're watching the AMSOIL replay right now.
Yeah, and this time it looks like Thompson got loose, hit the curves, collects Brandon Holder, wrong place at the wrong time. So again, lap traffic management sometimes can bite you as pit stops continue on the racetrack.
I think we're getting closer and closer to having a full course caution before the night's over with, Justin.
Again, very unlikely, of course. There's local yellows on road courses for those that don't know with iRacing. There is the race control, though, live race control, where if need be, we'll call a caution. Question is, if need be. We have not seen that with the road courses this season. That is still a big if here. So that is still a question of if that would happen at this point. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, with the way the cycle's going, Sean Powell is still up at the front. He's got himself a bit more of a cushion, even out the lap times to a 1.8 second gap. Followed by Brad Neer in third spot on the racetrack with all this going on in the cyclist Mike Bruno, with Doug Lemons back up into P number 4 with the amount of damage on his truck and hitting the front end of the tires, the right side up against the wall. We are going to see him and Bruno both come into the pit.
We are. So they're going to decide to go down pit road, get those 4 fresh Goodyears, and see if they can make up, maybe play some pit strategy here tonight.
And now we're just about at halfway to on the race course. Remember, we're on lap 24.49 here. So logic would say they would have enough fuel to make it to the finish line from here. The question is, how will the tires feel? Especially what we've seen in the past few minutes on the racetrack with the worn tires.
And that 19 of Mike T. Bruno, he actually missed his pit stall as he had to back in and get that thing straight. And that looks like the 88 and of Gregory Thompson, the 5 of Matt Holder, their incident is under review by race control.
So that's going to be very interesting because remember, Holder was in the top 10 before getting into the incident with Gregory Thompson, who was lap traffic and who is now falling back to P15 on the racetrack. So that's going to be interesting. Of course, tonight's coverage is again with the replays, the AMSOIL instant replay, the AMSOIL the first in synthetics here for the Maple Leaf 125. Sean Powell is into the pits. We also like to remind you, of course, today's race is also presented by Cascade Howell Motorsports, the official title sponsor, for tonight's coverage. But with that, of course, Sean Powell is in, the leader's in, and he looks like to missed his box a couple times with how small these boxes are.
Boxes are very small, and that's definitely going to be a challenge here tonight. Can these drivers get in those pit boxes? We've seen a lot of drivers miss it. Man, once this thing cycles around, I don't know who's going to be in the leader. What's going to happen? We're going to have to find out here within the next couple laps once these pit strategies get cycled around.
Yeah, and Doug Lemons is moving around the racetrack right now. He's already gone in. He's going to zoom on by the front stretch. Sean Powell is cycled behind James Torrey, who still has to come in. Right now, Brad Nero goes up to the lead. Pardon me, James Torrey was one of the first ones to come in, so he's in the lead on the undercut. Neer and Reinshield are the ones who have to pit that are up near the front. And it looks like warnings are coming out for pit exits, as appears somebody has come across the track on a pit exit.
Definitely a heartbreaker right there. You do not want to do that. You can give this race up on pit road.
And Powell was 5 seconds slower than James Torrey because he went back and forth, remember, into his stall. That cost him 5 seconds. And now, with that time, it's a 4-second lead for a net P1 for James Torrey. This race is continuing to tick on by here for tonight's coverage of the Maple Leaf 125 presented by Cascade Hollow Motorsports. We'll be back in just a moment here on RaceSpotTV for more coverage of the Espeed Contender Series.
Gaudy Range.
I actually, really enjoy dirt racing. Feels good to get in the car, and we have, great cars and engines and things at KKR, so it's nice to drive a fast sprint car.
Couple of separate lines developing, three wide action on a turn two. Craig Kitzer, Casey Kane, and Garrett Pittman going at it.
I think the differences between, NASCAR and the sprint races on dirt is just a much different mindset. The way you drive your cars, the setup, the feel you're looking for. I think one of the hardest things to tell as a fan is when you're watching a race, whether it's a NASCAR race, a dirt race, is just what's really going on in the car. With iRacing, you can get the way that the track's changing, which they've done a great job in how the track changes throughout the night or throughout the race, just to try to capture it and let the fans play it and realize, like, man, there's actually a lot going on, and you can't always see that when you watch a race. So I think it's pretty neat. It's, enjoyable for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually much of a simulation, and there's a lot of ways that you can learn from that. And, early on, it was neat to look at the Cup tracks that I was going to, places that I had never been. So I think it kind of gives you a head start leading into a weekend. It's pretty real life, and that's pretty neat.
When I sat in the car, you always wonder, what's it going to feel like? It was my first time driving a mid-engine GT car. My thoughts were, wow, this is really good for our first time in a car. I was really surprised by it. You're sitting low, you got the A-pillars at steep angles, the windshield's at steep angles, you can see the fender flares. I think we have a chance to win. Everything's got to go right, but I think we have a car that can win the race or be on the podium. But can you imagine how cool that would be to go back 50 years later to the year and do it?
Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's coverage of the Maple Leaf 125 presented by Cascade Hollow Motorsports here on RaceSpotTV. So far, it has been a wild one, to say the very least. James Torrey is currently in the lead by 4.8 seconds over not Sean Powell, Brad Neal. Reason being, before we went to commercial, we mentioned there was a warning given out for a pit exit coming across the track. Turns out, that was to the number 41 machine of Sean Powell, so that knocks him all the way down the grid back to P number 9, Davis.
Absolute heartbreaker for that 41. Oh, and the 70 of Doug Lemons goes off the track, and he hits the outside wall.
And this continues to be the definition of today's race. Amsoil Instant Replay will show what just happened. This is, again, another victim of Clayton Corner. Known for a lot of incidents today, no exception as he bobbles and smacks the wall.
Doug Lemons is just, man, there's just no other words. He had the lead by 4.8 seconds and just absolutely thrown it away as you see him there again in Clayton's corner. Just way too much speed going in there, and he gets loose again and almost spins it out as he comes through Moss corner, as he is just having a heck of a race here and trying to get that machine under control.
Here's the thing. He's got a couple different times spun around. He's still in the top 5. I don't know what else to really say with that at this point. By the way, with the lead with Torrey over Near, remember Torrey had short pit. He's leading by 4.4 seconds. And the difference between the laps is ranging from 0.4 of a second to a full second faster for Near compared to Torrey.
And the 70 of Doug Lemons is going down pit road. He must have too much damage. He doesn't want to blow that machine up. So now he's just going to go down pit road, get some of that damage fixed. But can he make it in his box? We've seen a lot of drivers have problems with that here tonight.
Yeah, especially with the size of the box is extremely tight. Very small window. We'll see if he's able to hit his pit box here. See how long he's going to have to sit in it. This time, he's able to hit the marks as he's into the pit box. He'll drop one more spot from the grid right now. But again, the gap is starting to shrink more and more between Torrey and Near. Doc Stout is in third, followed by Mike Bruno. And shifting up into P number 5 with the stop from Doug Lemons is Brent Keith.
And Doug Stout has got a chance to win this thing here tonight, Justin. If he can keep that machine clear, it doesn't look like he has a scratch on it. If he can play some strategy here and just keep it consistent and clean, he's got a shot at tonight's victory. And if the number 9 machine of Brad Near is able to catch up to that 2 with James Torrey, we're going to see some more action here tonight.
And we're going to see even more so. Right now, 13 drivers are on the lead lap on the circuit at the moment. Brad Patterson, Brandon Holder, Bobby Everhart among those laps down. Also, some more trouble has appeared at times for this race. Paul Bliss has had some troubles, ended up hitting tire barriers. He's going back and forth in the pits due to engine trouble. That happened during the break. James Hickson's been going to 2 laps down. It's just been in this race, comers and goers, and a lot of drivers have been trying to overcome adversity, to say the very least.
Adversity indeed there, Justin, as these drivers, it's been a hard-fought battle, and lap after lap here tonight. With that 2 with James Torrey leading over Brad Near over 4.2 seconds. It looks like James Torrey ran a 1:21.5 as Brad Near ran a 1:21.4. So Brad is definitely faster, but does he have enough time to catch that 2 machine of James Torrey?
Let me toss this over to you, because with James Torrey, what does he need to do to try and keep this lead if Brad Neal reaches the back end of his truck by the end of this one? There's still some more time here. We're on lap 33 of 49. What can he do to try and defend compared to Neal on those slightly older tires?
He's just got to keep it on track and just be consistent. That's what it's going to come down to. Consistency. If he can keep this thing on track and be consistent with it, one of the drivers will make a mistake. It's just which one's going to make it. But if James Torrey keeps it on track, and he'll be able to make it, there's not a doubt in my mind. As long as he keeps it on the track and keeps running those consistent lap times, he'll come out of here the victor.
And as well, got to keep the truck clean. He's just had like one time really going through the grass. That's about it today. That is according to my JRT timing and scoring terms. That keeps on times you go into an incident, will have to work his way through traffic at this point. So as the time continues to tick on, who's really impressed you throughout tonight's action here?
Honestly, the 62 at Doc Stout. As we've seen him show some speed up throughout the races here this season, but he's just been able to run a very consistent race. He's been able to run about the 121.9 mark, 122 mark, just consistent lap after lap after lap, and he has really impressed me here as he's in 3rd place right now.
He's really impressed me too, because this is by far the strongest run I think I've seen from him at all this season. He's been able at times to run in the top 10. This is the farthest up I've seen him be able to run, and he's been hitting consistent times as well. Each time, not as quick as Tori and Near, but has been consistently running throughout the entire race, throughout the green flag runs, at about the same pace, at about the same rate, not really having a major drop-off compared to that we've seen from some others as he hits a huge bump coming through Clayton corner but keeps it straight.
And James Tory just got past through lap traffic right there. The 70 of Doug Lemons is back on track, but it appears he's already 2 laps down in that machine. He started out on the pole, has had nothing but problems out here tonight, but James Tory gets around him, and now the 9 of Brad Near, he's going to have to deal with the same fate as lap traffic gets out of his way, but he's coming for that 2 machine of James Tory.
James Tory got through that traffic. Question is, how can Near get through it? How quickly can he get? 3 seconds is now the gap. Lost a few tenths working his way through there. The next driver up would be Ryan Lange on the circuit, along with Tim Marlowe, who is still on the lead lap. Ryan Lange is the last on the lead lap. Kerry Allen Stewart, they'll zoom on by as he goes into the pit lane. So right now, you're starting to see the lead lap drivers shrink more and more. It's going to get more challenging to lap these drivers because they're more of the faster trucks on the circuit.
They are, and they're not going to lean over and give that away either. They're going to be fighting to stay on that lead lap, but once Brad Near gets to them, they're more likely to get out of the way because they've already won a lap down. So we could see that come into play here tonight. Will lap traffic hinder James Tory from getting that victory, or will he be able to keep up the consistent pace he's been keeping up and come out with that checkered flag?
That's still on the minds of a lot of these drivers. Less than 15 laps to go here in the Maple Leaf 125, presented by Cascade Hall Motorsports. Here at this cool racetrack, 76 degrees right now is the track temp after starting off tonight. Overcast is 74 degrees. As now Tory still trying to keep up the pace. This time he gained a lot of time compared to Near. Near didn't have the consistency I think he needed on some of these lines. He especially lost time through Clayton corner. It seems to be some parts he's really struggling at to get that consistency he needs to. Should be about a difference of a couple tenths alone because of that one mistake he had in Clayton corner.
It is. Just keep an eye on those lap times, though. He's making up progress. He's up to 3.3 seconds behind the number 2 with James Tory. He still has enough time to do it. He just has to get in the mindset of running consistent lap times and keeping that machine on track. But he's definitely running faster lap times per se. But as I say that, as James Tory just ran 0.8 of a lap faster than Brad Near.
Meanwhile, Matt Kingsbury, done for the day, just blew his engine on a gear shift going through White's corner. He's done for the day. Remember, last time we were at road course, he won. He will finish off around potentially the top 20 range at the most. So an hour driver done from a mistake in terms of gear changes. As Tory's now really growing the gap now. It seems now with Doug Lemons behind him, it's starting to work out. Speaking of that, though, Tory goes wide, working his way through Moss Corner. Able to still recover it, though, and should be able to keep the time stabilized.
He is, as you see him going through the straightaway here, and he puts a gap on the 70 of Doug Lemons. Emerges. The 70 of Doug Lemons is a lap down car, 3 laps down for that machine. But could that have been enough to get that number 9 of Brad Near? Could he have been able to make up some more time on him and hinder down this lead? As we're going to find out here when they cross the start and finish line.
Here's how much time he lost from that one slide. He was about 3.8 seconds starting to grow the gap. Lost a full second from that drift towards the dirt through Moss Corner. We're going to see the lap times as they cross across the start and finish line on circuit. Gets the speed he needs to grow it back to 3.08 seconds. They were about even in total, though. Tory was able to recover some of the time. In fact, Near was pardon me, a full second difference still in terms of the lap time, but Tori was able to gain back a couple tenths in the last part of the racetrack.
Oh, but that lead is shrinking and streaking with each going lap here tonight. We're going to see a battle by the end of this race, so stay tuned. Don't go anywhere because it is about to get exciting here in Canada, eh?
That's for sure. Here in beautiful Canada, Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada, one of the premier road courses of all of Canada, here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. As continuing on, Tori continues to work his way through traffics. Perry Snelson going off into the grass to let drivers on by. I'm surprised Perry Snelson's still running his truck because remember, he went upside down at one point. He's now chugging along trying to get a good finish in P23, 8 laps down.
Well, there ain't much to fight for in P23.
If you have, hey, you can at least gain a spot at Matt Kingsbury. That's a positive.
Well, hey, you're right, he can. So these championship points could mean a lot, and that 1 or 2 point could mean a lot, but you know, you just got to be disappointing knowing that you have a fast truck here tonight and being 8 laps down. But Doug Lemons, too, another sad night he's had here tonight. We've seen a lot of speed, especially at the first of the race. He's already 3 laps down, started in that pole position. Some more drivers, including Matt Kingsbury, off the track and on pit road, started in 3rd position. And then the list just goes on. Timmy Logwood Jr., Gregory Thompson, Malik Ray is more of a start and park driver here tonight. But still, we've got a battle for that lead. Almost as Brad Neer got that lead down to 2.7 seconds, and Doug Lemons is still all over that back end of James Torrey.
I think at this point, maybe he's just thinking, why, I know I got fresher tires, why make the pass? Why cause trouble for the leader in James Torrey? As they're really closing up down to 2.1 seconds is Brad Neer, down to a full 2 seconds as he exits down the Mario Andretti straightaway.
And James Torrey is going to have lap traffic to deal with as well. As he comes down here, he's going to have to get around that number 71 machine of Bobby Everhart.
Might be able to use a bit of draft, though, through the Mario Andretti straightaway. Has to back off a bit. Bobby Everhart gets some space as they work their way through the S's. Brad Neer, though, is working his way through the corners much better now after falling off for about a lap. James Torrey nearly bumps in the back of Bobby Everhart and has to check up. So able to get on by Bobby Everhart, but the gap is down to 1.3 seconds.
1.3 seconds, the 9 of Brad Neer is coming, and he's coming in a hurry as that lap traffic absolutely killed the 2 of James Torrey's momentum.
And the gap is a 1.5 seconds. Up high goes James Torrey, nearly into the grass through Coyden Corner. Down to still 1.3 seconds. Doug Lemons, he's going to have to move potentially out here. As Neer closes up to the back of him, Lemons will move to the inside out of Quebec Corner. And now it's just going to be Torrey and Neer between those 2 spots. They are 12 seconds ahead of Doc Stout.
Doc Stout, too, has still got a chance at this race. At the 9 of Brad Neer can catch up to that 2, and he's almost on his back bumper. He is absolutely evaporated that lead of the 2 of James Torrey.
It's under a second. James Torrey will have Brad Neer using the draft down the Mario Andretti straightaway as they work their way towards turns 8 and 9 for the S's. Torrey having a nice run through the straight lines, but this is where Neer has been much more stronger. Able to close up time, late braking, able to get the time up, while Torrey's haven't been backing up the corners much more. Now you can see how much the difference of the S's helps as Torrey nearly let Neer right to the back end, but able to stretch it back out.
He is able to stretch that lead back out, but not by much, as that 9 of Brad Neer is still coming, and he's coming in a hurry. This is when it's going to get in the 2 of James Torrey's head. He knows that 9 of Brad Neer is coming. He knows he cannot make a mistake. It's kind of like we've seen last weekend at Watkins Glen in the Monster Energy Cup Series with Chase Elliott. He knows he's got that lead, but he knows that 9 is coming. Any little mistake could absolutely lose the lead to that 9 of Brad Neer, and he's going to have lap traffic to deal with as well.
Ryan Lange's reached now. This is the 11th place truck that's in front of him. As Torrey backs up the corner more going through Moss, Neer tries to dive it in and able to close up about a tenth that he had lost out on the exit of the S's and down the front straightaway. The gap is again to 6.63 on the course. Question is though, with Torrey about to reach Lange, how will we approach it? Will Lange end up holding it up? That's going to be the big question as they work through 89.
The question, you see him go high in the corner. Is he going to let him by, or is he going to fight him off? I think he's just going to let him by. But hey, I've been wrong before right here as he catches him going across the start and finish line, and he just pulls over for him. But where will the 9 of Bradner catch it? Will he hit it in the middle of the corner? And it looks like Ryan Lange just pulls over. Classy, classy move by Ryan Lange.
But that ended up hurting the line for Bradner. He had to take a higher entry into the corner and lost him a 10th there. And now he's trying to close it back up through Clayton Corner. They nearly going through the grass at one moment. It looked like James Torrey, with the amount of momentum he was trying to carry across the track, is still stabilized now at 0.63 seconds. Less than 10 laps to go here in the Maple Leaf 125 presented by Cascade Hollow Motorsports.
This race has been drama-filled from flag-to-flag coverage here at RaceSpotTV. Here comes the 9 of Bradner. He gets right on his rear bumper. Can he make the move? He's right to his back bumper. This is the closest he's been the entire night. He's got him in his sights. When will he make his move? When will he pounce on the 2 with James Torrey?
That's the big question. You don't want to do it too early, and with this track, especially through White's Corner and its history, it is known for its dramatic finishes. We'll see if it's the case again this year for the Espeed Contender Series, as Near 3/10 back, trying to charge his way through turn number 9 to close up the Torrey. As they work their way through White's Corner, and the gap is still about the same distance. Torrey still managing to hang on, as he seems to be stronger compared to Near on the straightaways. And we have trouble in turn number 5, Brandon Holder.
Oh, that could have been detrimental to the leaders, but the 5 of Brandon Holder keeps it off the track. But watch out, here comes the 9 of Bradner, right up to his back bumper. He's still about 3 car lengths gaps between the two, and he's got live traffic to deal with in front of him as well. That's going to be the 28 machine.
And Ryan Lange just got bumped off the track behind them, as that's going to not be a factor. They move by Tim Marlowe as he's in P10, falls a lap down, as both of them keep on focusing on the marks. The next truck up would be John Berga. James Torrey gets bumped from behind. James Torrey parked the bus and got hit hard from behind by Bradner. And now both of them are slow. Lap trucks having to stop and slow down. Torrey still holds on to the advantage, but a huge moment, as you'll see on the AMSOIL instant replay. My goodness. Where do we even begin here with this one, Davis? Because it looked like he just hit the brakes harder than expected.
Well, classy move by the 9 of Bradner. He could have absolutely taken that lead and absolutely showed out in front of the 2 of James Torrey, but he basically stopped and let the 2 of James Torrey keep going, as that was obviously by accident. But the 9 of Bradner, what a classy move by that driver, as he just kept letting him go and did not pass him up, even though he had the opportunity right there.
Here's the part that worries me now with Bradner. Temperatures and the damage. The front end on that truck is really beat on up for Near. How's that going to affect him to try and take the lead now once he gets back into his rhythm? As Torrey, he just got damage on the back end, nothing on the front.
Well, we're seeing it right now is that 2 of James Torrey looks like he has more top-end speed on the straightaways. But if that was that last corner, last lap, would we have seen the same outcome we've seen right there, or would Bradner have passed him up and taken that checkered flag?
I mean, we've seen it before through White's Corner in the same situation a few years ago in the most recent trucks in real life for the NASCAR Campy World Truck Series. Lots of dramatic and historical finishes in that.
The 2 just got loose and went off the track, as that slowed his momentum, as the 9 of Bradner is going to be able to get right on his rear bumper.
And he's closing up quick down the Maryland 20 straightaway. Near trying to cut to the bottom. Torrey to the high side. They'll go side by side as they let Torrey moves on by and lets Near by.
It was almost contact right there, but now the 2 of James Torrey has the momentum. Can he keep him down? He gives him the bump. He gives him a little payback action right there.
Ends up getting damage to the back end of Bradner's truck as Bradner takes the lead on lap 44. Coming towards 5 laps to go next time by.
Bradner just said right there, hey, I don't have to take you out to win this race. I can pass you fair and square. And he just showed the 2 of James Torrey that is what a classy move we seen earlier in the race. But he passes him fair and square, makes the momentum work. And now is he just going to show out and check out in front of the 2 of James Torrey? Or does James Torrey have something left in his back pocket to gain back that lead?
That's the huge question, because remember, Tori was starting to slow down in terms of pace up at the front before everything dramatic happened there. Now the question is, now that he's now behind, getting the draft now with Brad Neer, can he go in? He tries to dive bomb it through Moss and can't close up quite yet to the back of Brad Neer's quarter panel.
If the 9 of Brad Neer gets a lot better exit than the 2 of James Tori. Looks like the 2 of James Tori is just overdriving it. That might have been his last chance to get past the 9 of Brad Neer.
And he's fallen to a full second behind after the failed attempt of the dive bomb going into Moss corner. And now the question is, can Neer maintain pace? Will that damage on the front end end up overheating the truck so the gear shifts? That's a big question, because a lot of drivers who have been in the lead today have had kind of a leader's curse today. Doug Lemon's a part of that. Sean Powell a part of that. Does that happen with Brad Neer?
We're going to have to pay close attention here and find out. I just got to think the 9 of Brad Neer, he's gotten that lead. We know he was faster than 2 of James Tori, but that damage on the front end, like you were saying, that's going to affect his truck, but it might be too little too late. He might be able to just limp it home. He's praying that everything goes right. He's praying that lap traffic gets out of his way and he's able to finish out this race and get that checkered flag.
He's still maintaining that second lead through Quebec corner. We're at 5 laps to go here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Brad Neer leads in the number 9 machine, followed by James Tori after leading for about 15 straight laps. Doc Stout with one of his strongest runs of the seasons in P number 3 is very loose. Coming to the corner is Brad Neer, still very loose, still trying to get himself straightened out. Think to first gear, gets to second.
James Tori is coming as he's gotten that lead back down to about 3 truck lengths as he's coming through as he goes through the Mario Andretti straight.
And you've seen there in the first gear, spinning the tires, how much that can really affect you. As Neer having the draft from behind with James Tori with the straight line speed. Trying to gain up on the back bumper once again. Here they come through White's corner once again. Will Neer be able to still keep the spot? Tori dives it on in, gets to the back bumper as we're back to a 2-truck race once again with less than 4 to go.
That 2 of James Tori's just got to be consistent. He's showing the speed that 9 of Brad Neer just keeps making mistakes. If that 2 of James Tori can just stay consistent, he'll be able to get past him. He needs to line up that pass perfectly here, and he's not going to have much time to do it as we have 4 laps to go at Canadian Motorsports Park.
The dramatics continue here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as Neer works his way through Quebec corner. We've seen there through Clayton corner, James Tori was a bit more conservative, and that hurt him through that entire stretch through the corners now. Question is, can he gain the time back again? Because remember, Neer's been getting very loose. Tori again dives bomb it through Moss. Can he maintain time? Gets a decent exit, but still the gap is about 1.1 seconds.
If James Tori gets that advantage again, he's just got to take it. He can't let it. He cannot hold anything back here with the closing laps. We've seen Brad Neer has been able to check out in front of him, but he's been making mistakes. If James Tori gets that opportunity again, will he be as kind, or will he lay that chrome front bumper to the back end of the 9 machine?
That is the main question. Remember, both of these 2 in the top 2 still looking to punch their tickets into the playoffs, as both of them have come close sometimes. Both of them came into tonight, respectively 10th and 11th in the championship standings, separated by just 10 points. There have just been 7 drivers to do so. It would be very crucial for these guys to punch their tickets now rather than having to worry through the final couple weeks. And Brad Neer made another mistake, a little tiny mistake, lost him about a 10th or 2, but the gap is still decent compared to James Tori.
You're right, but James Tori is coming, and that mistake definitely cost him here. Can James Tori capitalize in that number 2 machine as they come through the corner here again? And it's going to be a very close one. If Brad Neer makes one more mistake, James Tori is going to be able to pounce on it, but will he take the opportunity? Will he lay the chrome horn to the front, to the rear end of the 9 of Brad Neer? I don't know. We've seen a very classy race here with these drivers, them giving each other a lot of room, but we're coming into the final few laps here tonight, and I don't think they're going to be as nice here as they come to the end.
2 1/4 laps to go, and James Tori got very loose out of Moss, and that hurt his straightaway speed again through the Mario Andretti straightaway. Cost him a couple tenths again as they'll go to the flag stand where the flagman will be holding 2 to go with his hands. They work their way through White's corner once again. Now the question is, John Verga, they might reach him with traffic. Is that going to become a factor as they approach themselves? Less than 2 to go.
2 laps to go here tonight. The 9 of Bradner has about a 1 second lead over the 2 of James Torrey. James Torrey just ran a 1:22.346 while Bradner ran a 1:22.293. So Bradner definitely faster, but we've seen him make mistakes after mistakes. They're very small mistakes, but can the 2 of James Torrey capitalize, and will the lap traffic come into effect here?
Right now, John Verga's up the road a little bit. It's a question of, will they reach him? As now they continue to work their way through Moss Corner again. Torrey's been diving it in. John Verga goes to the grass. That's a way to keep himself out of the way, as he will not be a factor. James Torrey again tries to close it up, but still now 1.2 seconds back to Bradner. Can Bradner, though, keep up the patience, keep up the pace? Because this race could still go either way if he makes that mistake as he works his way through the S's, coming towards the white flag this time by.
And the 9 of Bradner has been able to gain that lead in Moss Corner alone. He has definitely had the faster truck on exits and through Mario and Andretti Straight as they come through White's Corner to take the white flag here tonight.
White flag up in the air for tonight's race for the Maple Leaf 125 presented by Cascade Hall Motorsports, as Near holds on to about a 5 truck length lead over James Torrey. Torrey takes the corner wide through turn number 1, and that loses him even more so time and gives Bradner a bit more of a cushion.
It's not over yet. They still got half the track to go here tonight as they're coming through the corners here. Once again, what will happen in Moss Corner? Moss Corner, we've seen a lot of dramatic finishes and a lot of dramatic racing here tonight as the 9 of Bradner actually goes wide, and he's going to lose time to the 2 of James Torrey.
Gap still about a second as they work their way to Moss. What will James Torrey do? Bradner backs up the corner. James Torrey comes in a bit hot. Can't quite get to the bumper as that distance is still fairly big. Near holding on now, and still again that exit gets some more speed and starts to pull it away as they go down the Mario Andretti straightaway.
Like I said, that 9 of Bradner has been absolutely having the upper hand out of Moss Corner on to Mario Andretti Straight. But here we go. They're going to go through the last 3 corners here tonight. Will the 9 of Bradner be able to hold on for his first victory of the season?
Near will work his way through 8 and 9. Through the S as he goes. He has the distance. Just has to hit one more corner. Through White's Corner he goes. Bradner will go to victory lane at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in the Maple Leaf 125, presented by Cascade Hollow Motorsports.
I'm out of breath there. Just an absolute thriller from flag to flag. We've seen a lot of carnage, but we've seen a lot of clean and heavy racing here tonight. But ultimately, that 9 of Bradner is going to take home the victory, followed by the 2 of James Torrey. And look at the 62 of Doc Stout, able to hold on to that 3rd position and finish the night out with a podium finish.
Mike Bruno will finish off in 4th. Keith Storr, who had a very quiet night, finished off in 5th. And Sean Powell, after a penalty, finished in 6th after falling to as far back as 7th. Scotty Reinshield also had a strong run, but a heck of a race overall here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We've seen a lot of dramatics, and in the end, it was very close down to the final few laps in this one, Davis.
Down to the final few laps indeed. Very exciting race here tonight. Man, Doug Lemons had the race lead by 4.8 seconds. Ended up wrecking his machine. That opened the door for the 41 of Sean Powell. 41 of Sean Powell had a pit road penalty, exited the track too soon. That opened the door for the 2 of James Torrey. James Torrey had the speed, seen some contact with him and the 9 of Bradner, but ultimately that 9 machine of Bradner is going to take home the checkered flag.
And with the win, gets the victory for Intensity Motorsports, and a heck of a one for sure. Let's look at your results here for what was a dramatic one from start to finish. A lot of drivers having troubles. Near comes away with a victory tonight, beating James Torrey by 1.2 seconds after getting a pass done within the final 5 laps at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Doc Stout, with one of his strongest runs of the season, comes away with a top 5 in third, followed by Mike Bruno, a development driver, quietly with the 4th spot. Keith Stewart also had a quiet run in 5th, with Sean Powell after penalties after leading for much of the way, finishing in 6th. Scotty Reinshield, Brent Keith, and Sean M. Ryan will round out the drivers on the lead lap, with Tim Marlowe in 10th. Ryan Lange finished off in 11th, followed by Brad Patterson, who had some troubles, but a very quiet race for him. Bobby Everhart in 13th. Marshall Berry had some troubles at some point. At 14th overall after going off the track, he finished as part of the 2-lap down club. Also amongst that was Kelly Allen Stewart and James Hickson. Paul Bless is 4 laps down in total for tonight's race. 18th place overall after smacking into the tire barriers after making contact with Marshall Berry. Also, John Verga and Doug Lemons rounded out the top 20 after Doug Lemons, the pole sitter, led the early going but made a mistake. That leads to the final drivers on the spots. Brandon Hoare 21st, Perry Snelson 22nd, with Kingsbury finishing off with a DNF. Also DNFs being rewarded to Gregory Thompson, Timmy Lockwood Jr., Tyler Hayes, and Malik Gray after Malik Gray had some troubles through the Clayton corner and parked it. With that, a wild turn of events here for tonight's race at the Entire Motorsport Park. We're back in just a few moments. You're watching RaceSpotTV in the Espeed Contender Series. Welcome back, everyone, to RaceSpotTV for the Espeed Contender Series after a wild Maple Leaf 125 presented by Cascade Hollow Motorsports. It was a heck of a race with a heck of a finish, with Brad Neer coming out on top over James Torrey in the final 5 laps after making the pass. It was a heck of a race. Justin Britt alongside Davis Richards for your post-race coverage here on RaceSpotTV. With that, why don't we speak to your race winner for tonight's coverage, Brad Neer, coming out on top for win number 1. That means we'll open up the floor to tonight's sponsor interview, Doc Stout. Doc, you have the floor.
Brad, congratulations on the victory tonight. Well earned, well deserved. Can't wait to watch your broadcast. Y'all are in a different zip code from me. Awesome run.
Hey Doc, I appreciate it. It's about time. I think this is my 7th season and first win, so it's pretty big. So thanks for sponsoring the race.
It was a heck of a race by far. Thank you very much, Doc. Stand by here with us. But focus goes, of course, to Brad. Brad, you let some of the feelings of how you've come about winning tonight and getting the first win of the season out. What else is going through your mind after what was a wild race here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park?
I just can't believe I won on a road course. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless. Like I said, I've wanted to win in this series so bad, and have come close a couple times. And God, what a monkey off the back!
Talk us through the battle in the final few laps with James Torrey as you close the gap, and then make contact through Moss Corner. Still let him keep the spot. Talk us through how difficult it was to try and get yourself set up to make the move on James Torrey.
Well, all week I'd been real strong through there, and I saw that's where I was gaining the most time on him, and that's where I wanted to make the pass was, out of that corner, and I made that turn under the bridge real. I mean, got a heck of a run, and it scared me when I hit him, and I told him, I said, I would have let the whole field pass by me to let you gather it up. I didn't want to win one like that.
Definitely understandable for sure, but again, how was your truck handling throughout tonight's race? Because it was a very cold track tonight. Max had got to a 76 degrees for the track temp. Were you expecting that kind of weather for tonight, and how was the truck handling in this freezing cold weather?
Well, we really had to make a lot of changes to the setup because it was just so tight and dragging the nose. We were kind of hoping it would be a little hotter track, and made a lot of changes for it to come alive. And like I said, the balance of the truck never changed. If it got loose, it was, I got it loose. It was just a phenomenal setup tonight.
It definitely looked like a phenomenal setup again. And look on the bright side, though, with the weather. It's raining in real life in Bowmanville, Ontario. It could be raining with this race. But with that, next race going to be coming. It's going to be at Gateway, I believe, for the next race. What kind of challenges do you expect to have there, and what kind of work will you and your team do to make sure you're successful there?
Gateway is a fun track. You gotta shift there, and turn 1 and 2 can get awfully slick on exit, and 3 and 4 is misleading. It looks like you carry a lot more speed through there, but we're looking forward to it. Our flat track program has come a long way this year, and then especially with the alliance with America Motorsports, they're pretty good on flat track. So I look for us all to have a pretty good run there next week.
Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you get going?
Oh, I got to thank my sponsor, LSR TV, HPP Pedals, Mark over there at HPP Pedals, Sim Racing Apps, Devour Foods, and of course, America Motorsports, and my teammate, Keith Stewart, and you guys for putting on one heck of a broadcast.
Thank you very much, Brad. Congratulations on the victory.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week at Gateway.
And that was Brad Neer coming away with the victory for Intensity Motorsports, his first on the season after starting off in 6th. Davis Richards is now going to be standing by with the man who finished in 2nd spot, James Torrey. Davis?
James Torius, Davis Richards up here in the RaceSpotTV booth. Man, we seen you get that lead down, and Brad Neer was just running you down in that number 9. What was going through your mind with about 10, 15 laps to go? Or I believe it was about 10 laps to go, and Brad Neer made that punt in the middle of the corner.
Well, what was going through my mind was the wrong thing. I started watching the mirror, which you just never do, and that made me make a couple mistakes, and he got close to me, and then when we touched there, I thought I was done, but he was a gentleman and gave me room to catch it, and we went on from there.
Yeah, he came to a complete stop on the track, let you get your traction back, and then came back fighting for you for that lead. Nonetheless, classy move by him, but I can't think I'd be thinking the same thing under my helmet until I seen him stop on the track. But nonetheless, it was awesome watching y'all two battle it for the lead. If you had anything to do different, what would you have done in that number 2 machine?
I would have turned off my rear view mirror.
Well, that indeed. It seems like, too, is when I even drive the race cars, I see more driving the car behind me instead of racing my truck and focusing on my lines. But still, awesome finish out there tonight. Coming home second place is nothing to hang your hat on. We seen the 9 machine had some front end damage. Was that rear end damage affecting you at all?
Nah, it didn't bother me a bit. We went on from there, and I was hoping to try and catch him, but he's pretty good on road course, and I don't, I wasn't going to catch him. I wasn't surprised at that. So I was kind of waiting for him to make a mistake, but it didn't happen.
And also there too, with all the carnage we've seen tonight, how hard was it and how fast were these trucks just to keep them on track and just to avoid overdriving the corners and spinning out through the grass? As we've seen the likes of Doug Lemons exit out early in the race, and other drivers like Malik Ray within the first lap of the race, and Matt Kingsbury in that 21 machine. How hard was it, or were you just more or less trying to just focus on your own line and run a slower pace than you might will at other racetracks?
Yeah, I was just focusing on my truck and my race and my lap. 'Cause this place, if you lose your attention just a little bit, this place will jump up and get you in a big way. It's got some squirrely spots on it, and if you're just not paying attention, it'll get you for sure. So you gotta keep your mind in the right place.
Well, before we let you go there, James, you got anyone out there you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank Doc for sponsoring the race. My sponsors, Lone Star Rod and Custom, the Vegan Yacht, and Jewel Scent. You guys for doing the broadcast, and Keith, thank him as always for the job he does with the league.
Well, James, we'll see you out there next week at Gateway Motorsports Park. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the number 2 machine of James Torrey coming home in second place.
Some good words there from him, and finishing off in third with one of his strongest, if not the strongest run of the season, Doc Stout in the number 62 machine. Doc, at this point, were you expecting to have this kind of a strong run? What really helped you get the consistent rhythm to get to where you got tonight?
Well, yeah, felt like we had a good solid top 5 truck coming in. If we did our job, that is keeping the truck on the track, keeping the fenders intact, and maintaining focus, and was able for the most part to do that. I think I got wide there a couple times, but other than that, just tried to stay focused and hit my marks.
That leads to my next question, because it was a cold track, and we've seen a lot of drivers seem to have too much grip, so to speak, have a bit of a tight truck and go off the track, as you mentioned. How difficult was it to keep up those consistent lap times and corners with the track conditions, and to make sure you didn't go off the racetrack or going towards the tire barrier?
It could be kind of tricky. Depending on where you caught lap traffic, it could play a big factor. It was real easy to overdrive corners. You had to, myself, I just kept telling myself, reminding myself to stay focused and try to hit my marks and everything worked out this time. Yeah, it's the best round we've had this season by far. It's as good as a win for me. We've had some good trucks in the past, but something always seems to step up and bite us. Usually driver error on my part, but we're glad to put the whole thing together tonight.
We're glad too to see you have a strong run. Of course, the focus shifts over to Gateway International Raceway next week. That's, of course, a very challenging racetrack, especially turns 1 and 2. What will you and your teammates do to